Don't start the car. Your husband cut the brakes." The words ripped from Sophia's mouth before she even realized she'd shouted. Her hand slammed against the sleek silver sedan's window as the engine purred to life. Inside, Vivian, the millionaire's impeccably dressed wife, turned sharply, her perfectly shaped brows knitting in confusion. "What are you talking about?" she demanded, but there was a flicker of unease in her voice. The summer sun glinted off the polished chrome of the mansion gates behind them, and for a moment the world seemed frozen. Just the two women staring at each other, one desperate, the other suspicious. Before we move further into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear. Let's dive in. It had all started an hour earlier. Sophia, the head maid in the Whitmore estate, had been making her usual rounds, fluffing pillows and polishing silver. When she passed by the garage, she heard voices, low, urgent, dangerous. Peering in, she saw Ethan Whitmore, Vivian's husband, leaning close to a man in greasy coveralls. "Make it look like an accident," Ethan muttered, glancing over his shoulder. The mechanic nodded grimly, crouching beside the silver sedan's front wheel. Sophia's heart slammed in her chest. She couldn't hear every word, but she caught enough. Brake lines, timing, and something about insurance, and finally being free. She backed away, her hands trembling. In her years working for the Whitmores, she'd seen Ethan's temper, but she had never imagined this. Still, she hesitated. What if she was wrong? What if she misunderstood? But as she polished the banister, she saw Vivian descend the stairs, handbag in hand, heading straight for the garage. Panic overrode doubt. Sophia threw down the cloth and ran. Now, here she was, breathless at the driver's window, her voice shaking but firm. "Please, ma'am, just get out of the car." Vivian's eyes narrowed. "This is absurd, Sophia. My husband loves me." She started to put the car in gear. Sophia's pulse spiked. "Then why," she said, forcing the words out, "did I just hear him paying someone to make sure you wouldn't survive your trip into town?" Vivian froze, her hand hovering over the gear shift. "You're lying." But there was doubt now, seeping in like water through a crack. Sophia pointed toward the front of the car. "Check for yourself. The mechanic's gone, but I saw what he was doing. Please, just check." Reluctantly, Vivian stepped out, heels clicking on the gravel. Sophia crouched beside the wheel, her fingers brushing the faint smear of grease on the shiny fender. She reached underneath, her hand closing around a cable that felt far too loose. When she pulled back, her fingers were black with residue, and the thin metal line was nicked nearly through. Vivian's breath caught. "Oh my God." Before either of them could speak again, the mansion's side door slammed. Ethan strode out, his expression tightening when he saw them together by the car. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice dripping with false warmth. Vivian straightened, holding up her greasy fingers like evidence. "You tell me," she said, her voice shaking but loud. For a moment, Ethan's mask slipped, anger flashing in his eyes. "You don't know what you're talking about," he snapped, but Sophia stepped between them. "I heard you. I heard everything. The police will too." The tension cracked like a whip. Ethan lunged forward, but Vivian was already pulling her phone from her bag. "Stay right there," she said, dialing 911. Ethan froze, calculating. Behind them, the roar of an approaching engine signaled the arrival of the estate's security chief, drawn by the commotion. Within minutes, police cars rolled through the wrought iron gates. Officers stepped out, taking statements as Ethan protested, weaving lies about misunderstandings and mechanical issues. But the mechanic, found down the road and questioned, spilled the truth under pressure. The cut brake lines weren't an accident, they were attempted murder. Ethan was cuffed and led away, his shouts echoing off the stone facade of the mansion. Vivian stood still, her arms wrapped around herself. The reality of what had just happened settled over her like a lead blanket. Sophia stood beside her, unsure if she should speak. Finally, Vivian turned, her eyes shimmering. "You saved my life," she said quietly. Sophia shook her head. "I just told the truth." Over the next weeks, the mansion was quieter. Ethan's absence left an emptiness, but also a strange peace. Vivian moved through the halls with a new steadiness, and more than once, Sophia caught her watching her with something like gratitude in her gaze. One afternoon, Vivian called her into the study. On the desk was a thick envelope and a small gleaming set of keys. "I know I can't repay you for what you did," Vivian said, "but this is a start." Inside the envelope was enough money to buy a home, and the keys belonged to a modest car parked outside. Sophia's throat tightened. "I didn't do it for this," she said. Vivian smiled faintly. "I know. That's why you deserve it. Courage is speaking up when staying silent is easier, because sometimes that voice is the only thing standing between life and death." If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a bravery in the comments below.